Hey, it's Emily. I heard you wanted to do basic animations and edits. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do very limited frame animations. So this isn't going to be like onion skinned, very detailed animation. This is going to be like if you have a frame that's done and another frame that's done and you're gonna smash them together, put it to some audio or music. I'm also going to add how to do a speed paint and how to do reveals, because those are some easier things that are more simple to get you started into the video editing software. They're a little bit easier to film sometimes. So the programs that I'll be using today are Photoshop and Premiere Pro. I'm not a huge fan of Adobe, and they do cost money, but whatever software that you can get your hands on to have a drawing space and a video editing space, so like instead if you're going to use Krita and DaVinci, then you can still use those, and they might not be a one-to-one because I'm using specific things on Adobe, but you should be able to do a very similar thing on those softwares. I will also be using OBS to do all my recording. OBS is a decently simple setup. There are plenty of tutorials out there, I'm sure, to get you set up. It's pretty much as simple as adding your screen you want to record and then pressing record, and then exporting it to an area that you can find. I'm gonna start with the reveal, and I have a drawing that I did previously for my Pokemon Day, and when I drew it, I split it up into 4 different sections. So I did my lines, my color, Pokemon lines, Pokemon color is how I have my layers formatted. You can format it however you want to do the reveal. So if I wanted to do all the color, we're going to put those layers together. I want to duplicate them, because you always want to keep the originals in case you want to do more with them. Once you flatten the layers, then they're flattened forever, and you can't really get them back unless you can undo, but you can't always undo. So I highly recommend always duplicating your layers. And then you can merge them, and now turn them off, and now all the color is on one layer. So now I'm going to add a layer mask, which it's pretty much like putting a piece of paper on top of the layer you have there. But part of the piece of paper that you're putting on top is going to be opaque, and part of it's going to be transparent. White is transparent, black is opaque. So currently it's white, so you can see everything on the layer. But we're going to change it to black, make sure our cursor is, or our brush is suitably large. And then all you have to do for your reveal is, one, make sure your opacity is 100%. And then all you have to do is that. And then you switch it back over. On Adobe, you can press caps to remove the circle for your brush. And then you can just do, wow, look at that, it revealed itself. And all you have to do is press record on Adobe to get that. And you can frame it different ways, or you can choose to frame it later in your editing software. Similar process if we wanted to do me and the Pokemon instead of just all the color. So we would do the Pokemon all together because we want it to be just me, and then we're going to reveal the Pokemon. So we're going to duplicate those and merge them again. Merge layers. So now if we turn these off, it doesn't look like anything's changed. We're going to add that layer mask. Currently it's completely white, so we're gonna get rid of them first. Look, they're all gone. And maybe this time I want it to be like a softer, like magical appearance. So I'm gonna switch my brush to a soft round brush, and I'm gonna show it just, and now it has a very soft opening. So undo that, and this would be where you press record, then you do your wow, look at that reveal. Or if you want to get fancy with it, you can start in the middle. Wow, look at that reveal. Yeah. And so you can kind of do that by hand. Then you would take that over to your editing software. Let's switch over real quick. And I'm going to make a new project for this entire video. So I'm going to go down Awesome. That's what my sequence is going to be called. And I'm going to add one of those in. I guess we have to name the project as well. There we go. All right, so now we have, look at that reveal. Super cool. We don't need to really start it until right about there though. So like give it a couple seconds. And then you can do it one of two ways. You can either just drag it over to clip it and put it over, or you can use the razor tool, which you can get that by pressing C as well if you want to start using shortcuts to make yourself go faster. So at this point you can either delete it, move it again, or you can be fancy and ripple delete it, and it'll just move everything over for you. So now that you have that edited, and maybe we could turn this down. Now do we like it? Wow. Now this also has, I'm gonna unlink it because it has audio that doesn't have anything in it. I just like to keep the workspace clean, so I'll delete those. But yeah, we like this. However, this isn't necessarily the right format for the screen that we want, because you see this is wide and not tall. I'm actually going to opt to do a whole new sequence, so I'm going to go File, New Sequence, and I've saved a couple custom sequence settings. Pretty much the difference is the size of the frame and the frames per second. So really just changing, making it be a 1080 to 920 and a 29.97 frames per second will get you the same thing as what I'm using here. So I'm going to call this Reveal. Cool. And I'm just going to take this and I'm going to paste it right here. So now we have that in here. However, it's not quite the right size. So I'm just going to click on it, and then you go up to Effect Controls. And this is where all of the animation happens. But this is also just where you change the actual scale of it. So I'm just going to scale it up until it fits. Maybe move it over. Maybe move it down. Maybe move it bigger. There you go. Now it fits. Play it. Everything's in frame. Looks beautiful. Don't have to mess with anything else. This is just how you can export it. You'll go up to Export. Its entire source. Look through it real quick. She's pretty. Except the export isn't in the thing that we want it to be. Because it's that wide screen. So we want to make sure to switch this to match source. So now that should be the same thing. It's the vertical format that we want for posting. So now you just click export, it'll export. That's all right. Now you just open up your phone, open up whatever app you want to post it on. For Instagram, you can do this reel. Well, you did have to download this to your phone. It depends on how you like to move files around. I just go directly from computer to phone. This should be in frame for you. I forgot to export it with the right settings there, so this one I had to reframe it, but you know, it still works. And then you can pick out your sound, and then that's great. Add your hashtags, whatever you need. There you go. Now you have a reveal. Let's head back over to Photoshop for a speed paint tutorial. So you're going to open up OBS. I'm just going to give you a quick, wow, OBS is open. And you've started recording. Great job. Now, go ahead and do your little sketch. Cool, it looks beautiful. You got a little square, you got a little circle, he has a little shadow. Bada bing, bada boom, you just did a sweet speed paint. Now go ahead and stop your recording and save it wherever your files are being saved, and then head on over to Premiere Pro. And now that we're over here, we're gonna go find. So we're gonna go import, and we're gonna find where that little speed paint just went. Oh wow, I think that's my speed paint. Look at that, it's my speed paint. Let's import this thingy. And look, here it is. That's my speed paint. This is when you get to, I do speed duration, and I normally start out with, it depends on how long it is. If it's really long, I'll start out with like a solid 7,000. That's only if it's really, really long. For this one, let's start out with 700. I like to do optical flow just because I think that it looks a little smoother. I'll do ripple edit just because it'll move it down rather than me having to move it. So now instead of the whatever couple minutes, it's only like seconds. So now at the faster speed, you can look at it. And then you trim it to where it starts. Trim it to where it starts. Get a quick look at it. I did some weird move the mouse thing. So I finished the circle. Right there I can cut. You can also move frame by frame by using arrow keys, by the way. So if you really want to get detailed. So I don't do any drawing until right about there. So then I can cut there. And then you can just ripple delete. I have set my preferences for Shift C to be ripple delete. You can change your preferences by going to edit and keyboard shortcuts. Then it'll pull this up and you can look at what you want. Or you can just right click and then there is a ripple delete. But it takes a little longer doing it that way. So we'll continue watching. Cool shading. Wow, so good. Crazy good. Might go through it a little bit faster. There wasn't any time that I stopped to take a break. Maybe I want to stop it right here. Except this is still a little too long, so I'm going to up the duration to 2000. Wow, now she's going real quick. And obviously you can edit this more if you like want certain sections and don't care about other sections. So like if you want the line work and then you don't care about the coloring, then you can also just save your image and then put it at the end. That's normally how I show off my finished product. But there you go. You got your little speed paint and you can at this point export it. This is the wide one, so it doesn't matter. Or you could, or maybe, yeah, we want this in our slim one. So I'm gonna actually edit the sequence this time. We're gonna go 1080 by 1920 here. And then we'll just okay it. This will be okay. Now you're 1080 by 1920. And so so you can't select all of them and change them all at the same time. Instead, what you're going to have to do is select one. So it is better to do this at the start, but you can still select one, scale it up to what you want, and then you copy that. I control copy, and then you can paste attributes. And I don't need the opacity or timer mapping, but I do want the motion, which encompasses the position, scale, rotation, all that stuff. So now this one will be the same size as this one. 179, 179. So now you've got your vertical. It's all within frame. Make sure that this is still good. Sometimes you zoom in as an artist and it's not quite in frame, so you'll have to move it around. If it's not quite in frame, let's say I wanted this one to be a little bit more in frame. So I'm going to turn on position and scale. That's going to be the starting. And right about here, I want the position to move over and scale out. So now you go through it, press play, moved over, scale out. If you want it to happen instantly, you could get rid of these guys, which are the previous ones. Move this over. You'll want these to be holds, because then they hold the position until you hit this part, when it'll automatically scale out. Nice. You've framed it beautifully, and now it's all done. Good job. Let's go export it. It's in the same source. Now you export it. Bada bing, bada boom. Transfer it to your phone and post it. Now you've got the basics down. This next one is going to be the doozy. Let's go back over to Photoshop. Now back in Photoshop, we're going to start the basic animation. So this is the framed animation, I'd say. Typically you're gonna do like 3 to maybe like 15 frames for one animation. So this isn't gonna be a very smooth method. It can be if you wanted to, but I feel like it would take way too much effort to do a really smooth animation for this particular style. It would be better to go to a software like Blender, where you can draw each frame in the editing software so that you can play it and make sure it's smooth, rather than doing it separately like how I'm doing it here. I haven't really broken into that yet, but as soon as I figure it out, I'll let you guys know. So let's say you have a great idea. Maybe you start with an audio, like I did the Meet the Artist one that goes like, my name, my age, my favorite color, right? So you'd start with that audio, or you can be like, I have this really cool character idea. And so you're just going to do this little skit where your characters are like one character pokes the other and you're like, oh, why'd you poke me? Or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe you're feeling real moody and you're just like, I just want to scream and I'm gonna draw myself dying in bed. That's what I did for this one. So I was like, I am just feeling in my feels, and we've got little Emily here in her feels, lying on her bed, not wanting to do anything, but inside my brain I'm screaming, rah. So this is frame number 2, and then I decided it wasn't quite even enough. I wanted to make it even more crazy. I like really screaming, having a bad time. So this is frame number 3. And so the way that I'm going to save them is actually even in a couple more layers. I'm going to separate this background layer so that I can do a separate effect to that. I'm also going to give this guy, I added these like little marks, the red marks here. I'm going to separate those. But anyway, so you save file, save a copy. So if it's transparent, PNG, not transparent, JPEG. You can really do both as PNGs if you feel like it. That's just normally what I do. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. But if it is transparent, PNGs typically work better with transparency. Wow, look at that. You've saved all these PNGs. And you found audio that you want to put it to. I took this audio off of the YouTube audio library. Instagram also has their music, and I haven't figured out exactly how to take it to be able to edit stuff to it, other than on the app. I believe if you had these files, you could post them into music on their editing software kind of thing when you're posting. Something that I've found is if you can find the music and then edit to the music and then export it without the music, then you can just put it into Instagram and add Instagram's music so that you can avoid all the copyright. So now you have all these different frames. Now we're gonna head and export all of these into Premiere Pro. There we go. Now it's all into Adobe Premiere Pro, except it will look less like this edited version and more like an unedited version. Okay, so I've got my background. Boom, background. And then I've got my laying down. Big sad girl. Looks like we've got my splatter background. Angry with no background. Small splatter background. Scream and no background. Now it'll look something like this. I'm gonna change the opacity down so you can kind of see. There we go. Except the being angry is only gonna last a little bit. So this is what it looks like without the edit. And so pretty much how you go from this to this is all through the effects controls. So on this one, I'm gonna scale it up a little bit because it doesn't quite fit the frame. We're gonna have it pan from this side to this side. So we're going to toggle the position animation on. I'm not gonna change the scale or rotation or anything else. We're just gonna have it move from one place to another. So that's the starting location, and that's the ending location. Let's have it end right about here. So it's gonna be like a slow pan. Wow. Slow pan. Now if we wanted to mess with it going a little bit faster at the start, a little bit slower at the start, there you go. So maybe we want it to, this one to have a little faster at the end so that it kind of like transitions into the next thing. We're even going to move this over a bit. So now, slow, and then it kind of, there we go. So now for this, to kind of save that momentum, we're gonna make this angry girl, we're gonna have it start here, I think is a great position. Background does not fit. We're gonna scale up the background so that there's no black, so that it's all uniform. Cool. Now we're gonna make you, we're also gonna do a position for this one. We're gonna make you start there. Let's make you go here and up just a little bit. And then we're also gonna add a little bit of that faster coming in from it. So now the transition kind of looks like, yeah. There we go. Now we kind of have like a nice beat spot there. The splatter I'm gonna make fit the frame a little bit better. Maybe there's like a secondary beat here. So you have her go, and then you want her to come back down a little bit before this person shows up. So, right here, let's move her down. And I'm gonna change this into a Bezier to just kind of make it a smooth, continual motion. But we want this to be a fast start. Maybe we don't. Maybe a little bit. Maybe we want this one to match up with it still. Boom, boom. I don't like it. I feel like this should be a little bit more of a dramatic thing. So let's move the position down even further. In fact, let's have her just go off the page completely. So this one is going to be a very fast off the page. Very fast off the page. Like almost immediately off. Maybe not that quite, but yeah. Nope, I don't like that. Cool. We're gonna have her go here, but through here we're gonna make her scale up a bit. So regular starting area, and then here we want her to be like, yeah. Cool. Now, for this screaming lady coming in, we want her to fade in. So that's gonna be with the opacity. We're gonna have this be the spot that she's fully seeable, and this is the spot that she's not seeable. Awesome, we have a fade. You can also do fade from effects here. There's different video effects and transitions that you can play around with at, in your own time that do similar things to what I'm doing manually. But we'll stick with it for now. I think we also want her to fade out. So when she's fading in, maybe we want her to fade out. So starting around right here, and then when she's all the way in, we want you to be all the way out. 0. Cool. There we go. And now the splatter background. Let's make you full opacity right here. And then we'll have 0 opacity here. And then this, I'm gonna use one of the effects. This is what I used for the one here, I think. It has turbulent displace. Awesome. And now go back over to the control. Let's mess around with it. Let's start at a negative something. And we'll go to positive for something. Cool. Let's keep this going throughout the whole thing. There we go. This little splatter can also disappear. We'll give him an opacity, and then right about here you can disappear. And then he doesn't need to live past that point, really. Don't take that out of context. But now you have an edit. Look at that. You can do it to whatever music and sound you want. And just so we can look at maybe some other things that I do for my, have done for my other videos. This was a speed paint. And then you can see just the profile there. That's another speed paint. That's a game. Games are a little bit different. This one's kind of fun to look at. This is my my name, age 1, says clap clap. But you can see some of the things that I'm using here. This one is not edited at all. It's just clap clap, one after another. It's not until the name one here where it slides in from the top. You can see the position was changed. And then this one, this is a scaled down. So you can see my avatar scaling down while the 20 is scaling up. My favorite color, that's just a slow pan out. This one is, the measure stick doesn't change, but I scaled down. And in order to scale it from a particular area, you click anchor point and you anchor it to where you want it to scale. So I had moved that anchor point to the shoe there. And you can see it moves around that spot. This is not edited. That one is a slow pan in. See the slow pan? That's not edited. Nothing on it. And then you can see this one has a swipe in and then made smaller. And this one has a swipe in from the other direction and made bigger. This one, if you want like a really complicated thing like this collage that I made, just make it in Photoshop and put it in as a whole. And then if you really want to finish or mess with it, then you can go back to Photoshop, mess with it there, rather than having all these files that you're just gonna stack up. It's gonna get really complicated. I know there's ways to nest stuff like that, but it gets kind of complicated, and I would rather just have it all in one thing rather than not. But this one just has a little move and a diagonal. And then this one I made a quicker diagonal, and then what you can do is the copy and then paste the attributes to the next one, and it'll be like it moved at the same pace. It's just like a copy paste. Maybe just a little adjustment. And then there we go. This one is the swipe in and then zoom in and then changes. And this I got the music for it. And then you can export it, upload. Bada bing, bada boom. Now you've done a little animation. And pretty much just like the more effort you put into these, the better they look. So take that with what you will. Sometimes I find it nice to plan out what you want to do, what you want just little thumbnails to look like on just like a notebook or a piece of paper before you really jump into it, because it does take a lot of time. So a little planning can help you keep organized and not have to redo things over and over. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot and that this was helpful for you. Alrighty, bye!